Hey! It's been months. Until December, I was in France studying abroad, as I think I mentioned in one of the previous videos, so I didn't have much time to do this. But as for this year, I really have no excuse. Anyway, I'm gonna try to compensate for that. And as the title suggests, I'm gonna be doing a wrap-up of all the books that I've been reading in the last months. Let's start. The first two books on this list, I actually read them before Blood of Olympus, which was my last book talk. But I didn't do a video about these books. Then I read Blood of Olympus, and I had to do a video about Blood of Olympus because Blood of Olympus. If you have not seen my Blood of Olympus book talk or you want to see it again, you can click here on my face and you will be directed to that video. Are you still here? Okay, then let's move on. So the first one of all these books was 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher. This story is about a girl who commits suicide, and she leaves tapes with reasons of why she did that, and she leaves those tapes to one person who has to listen to them all, and then to pass them on to the next one, and then to the next one, and so on until the last person in the list. It's quite of an intriguing story because you can see all the motives that led this girl to commit suicide, but personally, I didn't like this book that much. I gave it only 2 out of 5 stars in book reads, although the average rating of this book is 4.06, so a lot of people have liked it. I'm not saying the story is bad, but I was not feeling very caught up in it, so no, not for me. The next book was The Demigod Files by Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson. Do I need to say more? It's awesome. Go read it. The next one was The Iron King by Yuli Kagawa. This story is about a girl who finds out she's part fairy and she's dragged into the kingdom of the fairies. It is somewhat Alice in Wonderland meets Narnia. There's some drama, there's some interesting characters. It's a good book. It is the first book in a saga, but as for now, I have not read all the other books, so I really don't know what happens next. The next book is Rick Riordan again, Percy Jackson and the Greek Gods. This book is now the original cover that Rick Riordan posted on Facebook and Twitter. I bought this book in France, and it's the European cover. It is regular size, not the extra big size that this book is supposed to be. This boy kind of looks like Logan Lerman. So this book is about pretty much all the gods of Olympus, like the main gods, their birth, something important they did, how they became famous, and so on. Then again, Rick Riordan. Do I need to say more? The next book is also in French and is Quidditch Through the Ages by J.K. Rowling. In this little book, you can see the story of Quidditch and how it was invented and has been evolving through the ages until our days. Very short, but as usual for J.K. Rowling, no matter the language, it is awesome. And we're done with the books of the last part of 2014. To begin with the books of 2015, the first one was Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. But interesting about this is that it's not one story. There are 3 different stories in this book, one written by each of these authors. The 3 stories intertwine. At the end, you can see how each story was relevant to the others. I think it was an interesting project these authors did, and the result was very, very good. The next book was Alvin Airport by Rainbow Rowell. I had wanted to read it since a while ago. I think the story overall is great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars in Goodreads because the end I didn't personally like it. But the whole story of how these 2 misfits meet and how they evolve from hating each other to, well, falling in love, not my favorite, but a very good one. The next book was Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This story is the first one in the Lux saga. It is about a girl who falls in love with a boy who happens to be an alien. Then she finds out that the siblings of this boy happens to be aliens as well, and there are bad aliens who want to kill them, and she gets hurt, sort of like Twilight, but with aliens instead of vampires. I don't want to compare both sagas, but I have only read the first one of the Lux saga, so I don't know what happens next. The next book is The Eternal Ones by Kristen Miller. This story is about a girl who lives in a little town. She has a friend and they have a dress business together. Sometimes she faints and has a vision of another woman, which happens to be her in her previous life. So there's this society in which a lot of people who have several lives and they can sort of remember what they did or who they were in their previous life go there, and they are financed so they can develop the gifts they have. There's a love conflict, there are some plot twists. It has some interesting parts and others not so interesting, but overall I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I do think that the end of this book was like a good closure for the story somehow, so I'm not very thrilled about the rest of the saga. The next book Anne Frank's diary. I actually bought it in Anne Frank's house when I went to Amsterdam, so I was kind of expecting a story developing, but no, it's a diary. It's literally a diary. However, I enjoyed it because it's a perspective of how people used to live in Amsterdam when the Nazis were happening and all that stuff. And it also has photos. Look. The next is not only a book, but a trilogy. The Trilogy by Amanda Hawking. These ones are in Spanish, and these books are not mine. I actually borrowed them from a friend, but I had time to include them in the video before I give them back. So this trilogy is about a girl who, like in The Iron King, she discovers that she's part fairy, part troll actually. However, as the story goes on, these trolls just happen to be kind of regular people. Some of them have superpowers like controlling the winds or having visions of the future or telekinesis, but those are the powerful ones, the royalty. The other ones are just like regular people with no powers. It's kind of a boring world to live in if you're not part of the royalty. But there's this final battle that they've been preparing since book 2, and then the battle lasts for like 3 pages, and we don't have exactly a resolution for all the characters at the end of the book. I give the whole trilogy 3 out of 5 stars. I think the first one is the best one, then the second one is okay, and then the third one, just no. Moving on with another book in French, Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey, the continuation of The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. You can check the book talk that I did in this book by clicking on it now. Back on Infinite Sea, I read it over a year after The Fifth Wave, so I had forgotten a lot of details and stuff that had happened. Gladly, I was quickly back on track. In this book, we'll learn more about the aliens that came to Earth and the waves and their plans they have for humans by injecting this 12th system on them, which will make them like superhumans. And then there's this cliffhanger that says that aliens might not be actually aliens. I will say no more, I need to read the next one. The next book was the Chronicles of everyone's favorite warlock, The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare. That's right. I had not read anything by Cassandra Clare since City of Heavenly Fire, and I was so glad to be back in this world. And by Magnus's POV, this book is awesome. Having Magnus's POV through the ages of his relationship with Katerina and Ragnar and Camille and Raphael and even Marie Antoinette. We also get to see Will and Tessa and Valentine and Luke and Maurice and Robert. We see the moment when Jocelyn goes with Magnus to ask him to erase Clary's memory, and Tess is there. Awesome. If you like Cassandra Clare and you have read The Mortal Instruments and Infernal Devices, you have to read this book. What are you waiting for? Magnus is waiting for you. The next book that I read, Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. Just like in Let Us Know, in this book, John Green co-writes it with another author, and they both write different stories that intertwine at some point, but in this one, they are more intertwined than in the other one. It's a story about 2 kids that have the exact same name, but their lives are completely different. But at some point, they meet, and from then on, their lives are somewhat connected. There's a lot of drama, and there's John Green's characteristical sarcasm and way of writing that makes you laugh every time you read it. It's great, read it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars in Goodreads. Moving on with The Giver by Louise Lowry. I have to say that at first I didn't get this book. I didn't get what was happening in here. I get that it's like a utopia, dystopian sort of world. It was quite a shock for me when it was revealed that they didn't even have colors. By the end of the book, I was really amazed and shocked by the story and how it had developed. It was great. The next book that I read is The Staff of Serapis by Rick Riordan again. I need to have a constant flow of Rick Riordan stories in my life to keep me moving. This is not exactly a book, it's more of a short story, but Goodreads counts as a book, so I count it as a book as well. Annabeth meets Sadie from the Kane Chronicles, and they kick ass together. Rick Riordan. I don't need to say more, go read it. The next book was Deception Point by Dan Brown. This happens in Washington, D.C. It's about 2 candidates that want to run for president. One is the actual president who wants to be president again, and the other one is this other guy. In the meantime, some people in the Arctic discover this huge rock that has fossils of aliens inside, and in a way this discovery connects with the presidential campaign. There's suspense, there's action, there's science fiction, there are cliffhangers. It's Dan Brown. It's awesome, bro, I'm telling ya. And the last book of this list, Dante and Aristotle Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Aller Science. This is a very nice contemporary book, but it's not exactly a young adult contemporary. It's more like a young teen contemporary, mid-teen contemporary. I don't know if those terms exist already, but if they don't, then I just invented them. It's a story about these two boys in Texas. They just met casually at the pool, and then they become friends, and their friendship develops, and a lot of things happen. There are accidents and parties and people getting drunk. The characters, although living in Texas, they are clearly stated that they are Mexicans. And being a Mexican myself, that's kind of great to see your culture portrayed in a book like this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars in Goodreads. So that was it, my catching up wrap up. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed being back in front of the camera. I will try to keep doing these videos more frequently and not just doing them during the summer. I would like to see your comments, so anything you have to say, you can put it down here. Also, if you're in the mood, you can give me a thumbs up button and subscribe if you want it. And also check my previous videos. I will see you all in the near future.